Golden Sun fans, you really need to play Lufia 2. Lufia 2 is an older RPG for the Super Nintendo. In a lot of ways, it really feels like an archetype for what Golden Sun would eventually do. It's known for having puzzles that utilize different tools that get you through the game, similar in that way to Synergy Magic, but in Lufia you get a bomb, things like that. It's actually structured in a similar way to something like Zelda, where you get tools as you're going through the dungeons, and you use those to get to the next part. But one of the most interesting comparison points is in the Djinn system, and the Capsule monsters in Lufia 2. In Golden Sun, you can get Djinn in a variety of different ways. There are even some that you need to do exploration in order to find, which is similar to the way that Capsule monsters work in Lufia 2. But Capsule monsters are a very different system to Djinn. You get the initial monster either through going through the main story or in some cases through exploration. They start as this somewhat weak version that basically acts as another party member, but you can't actually control their actions. You can level these monsters, and once they level up, they can become very powerful, sometimes to the point where they even carry you in some fights. There is a bit of RNG though, because since you don't control their actions, they might do something that you don't want them to do, and sometimes they can even run. There are a bunch of different capsule monsters with strengths, weaknesses, and this sort of additional system can make Lufia 2 very fun. The structure in Lufia 2 actually feels pretty similar to the way that Golden Sun is laid out. You generally have one area that you focus on and progress through with interactions. You solve any problems that there might be in that area, and then you move forward to the next. A lot of the feeling of progression has this feeling of being gated until you get specific things. One thing that is kind of unique to Lufia 2 is it has a bit of a feeling of inevitability to it, because at the start of the game, you're already kind of supposed to know what's going to happen. That's because in Lufia 1, it shows what happens, which creates the sort of destined fate feeling to the game, which is something that they hint towards in Lufia 2 as well as you're moving through it. Lufia 2 is actually the prequel to Lufia 1, which is why Lufia 1 isn't necessary to play before Lufia 2. In fact, it kind of makes more sense the other way around. And Lufia 1 itself has some problems that I think make it a little less fun, mostly because of its overly high encounter rate, something that Lufia 2 doesn't have because you see the monsters on the screen when you're in dungeons. And speaking of that, the way that works is actually quite different than Golden Sun, and worth talking about. In dungeons, you can see all of the monsters on the screen. They aren't able to move unless you move your character. This is used in a variety of different ways, including in different puzzles, but it also allows you to decide whether you'd like to engage in combat or not. You even have these arrows that you can use that can freeze enemies. It sort of feels like a roguelike in a lot of ways. That especially applies in one of Lufia's optional side activities, the Ancient Cave. In the Ancient Cave, you can't bring any items inside, and your level is reset to 1 every time that you enter. The Ancient Cave has 99 levels. It's essentially a massive dungeon, really almost like a second game, so much so that when you complete the main story and roll the credits, you can then select to go straight to the Ancient Cave section from the main menu. The exception is that any items that you get from specific blue chests from the Ancient Cave are available to you. Lufia 2 has a great cast of characters as well, a lot of different types that are memorable, and of course the most memorable part is the relationship between these different characters. It really carries the game in a lot of ways, leveling up Lufia 2 from a good game to one of the greats. I would also recommend checking out the first Lufia game after playing through Lufia 2, though it is a bit of a downgrade in some ways since it came out first. It's made much more playable through the use of the Lufia Restored mod, which lowers encounter rates and ups movement speed, and the Always Retry mode, which gives you more XP and gold to make up for the rates. There's also a remake of Lufia 2 for the Nintendo DS called Lufia Curse of the Sinistrals. It's a very different game though. The combat is not turn-based. I would only recommend it after playing through the original. It's well liked for what it is, so it's worth giving it a shot, but Lufia 2, the original version, is definitely the best version in my opinion. And in most people's opinion. There honestly aren't a ton of games that have so many things in common with Golden Sun, while also having their own unique style, which is why I highly recommend you give Lufia 2 a try if you have it in the backlog but haven't given it a chance yet. And of course, if you'd like to see some other games that I recommend for fans of Golden Sun, make sure to check out my video about games like Golden Sun. I'll put that in a link in the description box. There are a good amount of recommendations in there. If you have any other games that you'd like to recommend, put them in the comments. For more videos about RPGs of all kinds, make sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching.